going to hold your hand when I say this. We're talking about another roguelite today. I know, it seems like nearly every game that releases these days has at least some rogue elements. The question for developers now is, what can I do to make my game stand out in such a crowded genre? Well, one way is to make your release look like a CRT TV puked out a psychedelic fever dream, but make it a creature collector. If this sounds appetizing to you, then might I recommend our special of the day, Morsels from Furcula and Annapurna Interactive? Sure, it looks and sounds a bit peculiar, but does Morsels satiate my roguelike cravings, or does it leave me hungry for a different game? Let's find out in our full review. Real quick, are you hankering for more indie gaming goodness? Support real people making real things by checking us out over at patreon.com/idreamofindiegames. Sample yourself exclusive perks like early and ad-free content, Discord access, a shout out at the end of every video, and more. Your indie gaming community is waiting for you. Morsels is a frantic and quite frankly bizarre action roguelite that feels a bit like Binding of Isaac had an illegitimate child with Pokemon. Players control a small mouse that blasts through disturbingly beautiful and increasingly odd landscapes, taking down monsters and entering mouse holes as they battle against their one true enemy, cats. Would you expect anything else? Our mousy protagonist can't go it alone, however. Along the way, players collect cards that contain creatures called morsels, which will fight for you. Ascend higher and higher through the sewers, one fiendish feline at a time, and reach your ultimate goal, or at least that's the idea anyway. Morsels is a run-based game, as you would expect from the genre, taking around 8 to 12 hours to get through on your first complete run. It is a very challenging title on its default hard cheese difficulty, though thankfully this can be tweaked down to soft cheese for a far more accessible experience. You begin your journey upwards in a hub area of sorts where you can view all of the morsels that you've collected thus far, change the difficulty, hug an adorable mud creature, and select a starting morsel before setting out on a fresh run. Players are able to collect up to 3 morsels at a time and can switch between them freely during gameplay, or override them entirely if they find a new, more enticing creature card. There are quite a few morsels to collect, all of which play differently from one another, and can themselves be leveled up through combat and boosted with various items. Gameplay takes place from the top-down perspective, with the game being broken up into different worlds made up of several thematically similar levels and an end boss encounter. There's really not much to the controls at all, though I found that Morsels was best enjoyed like a twin-stick shooter, using the right stick to perform various attacks in specific directions while moving about with the left stick. That could just be the Binding of Isaac fan in me though. Outside of dashing, there aren't many other controls to be concerned with except for the right bumper to interact with and pick up items, left bumper to use power-ups, and right trigger for your special. When I say each morsel plays differently from one another, I am not just being cheesy. Some morsels offer basic melee attacks, others toss bombs, some fire off projectiles, and one is a massive snake-like abomination that causes chaos by running into everything that stands in its path for a short but glorious period of time. Each morsel has its own health bar to be concerned with, as well as unique special abilities. Being able to switch between creatures at any time adds an element of strategy to the gameplay, though admittedly some morsels are best avoided entirely if at all possible, as they feel relatively useless in combat. Still, you've gotta respect the variety, and both trying to collect every creature and learning how to use them makes for a good time. It's all a bit frantic, which could prove too much for some players, made even more wacky and wild by various power-ups scattered across the map, hazards that can be triggered, mouse holes that can be climbed into, and ailments that can afflict you. With all of that said, a run in Morsels can often feel like sheer, unadulterated chaos. Mercifully, between each level, you'll have a moment of reprieve, as climbing a ladder upwards to the next section of the game often puts you face to face with one of Morsels' many odd NPCs. Some of these creatures offer you health in exchange for items that you've collected, and others will even allow you to participate in retro-themed mini-games or finish a delivery for them. These mini-games were a nice change of pace and fit the vibe of the game unexpectedly well. With all of the whimsy aside, this is still a roguelite, so expect to gain experience whenever a run comes to an end. On top of this, orbs can be unlocked for future runs that may give you a bit more of a fighting chance on future attempts. There's a solid progression system here that does a decent job of creating that one more run effect that you look for in this style of game. Morsels' oddball game design is complemented by its unsettling yet captivating visual style. The graphics skew on the more grotesque side of things, similar to Binding of Isaac, but maybe not quite as scat-tastic as something Edmund Macmillan would devise. The pixel art has a distinct grime to it, further perfected by a fuzzy filter that can be toggled to your liking in a variety of ways. Yet, despite its rather vile setting and creatures, there's a strange warmth to the overall design and visual aesthetics that works really well. Dare I say it's all kind of cute? This mix of deranged and delightful visual aesthetics works together to create something that almost reminds me of old school Nickelodeon originals like Ah, Real Monsters or Rocko's Modern Life. A bit sludgy, adorable, and sometimes gross, the graphics worked for me in a very unexpected way. I also grew to appreciate Morsels' sound design. The music has this calming, lo-fi vibe to it. The songs are happy and whimsical, simple melodies that burrow into your head. Each song is backed by gnarly sound effects, some that are downright disgusting, and others that sound straight out of a classic arcade game. When factoring everything together, the visual and audio presentation is wonderfully surreal. In terms of performance, I did encounter a few nasty bugs early into my gameplay, some of which were so strange I almost thought they were part of the game. At one point, my screen wouldn't scroll upward, making progression literally impossible, and at another, I was spawning an insane amount of copies of my lead character, but not during combat or anything, just trying to get to the options menu. There are more examples, but the bottom line is that Morsels could benefit from a few more patches. Thankfully, most of the bugs I encountered were early on and ultimately didn't detract from my overall enjoyment of this title. The game otherwise runs fine, whether playing on PC or Steam Deck, with the Steam Deck version of the game mostly maintaining 60 FPS with the occasional dip. Morsels deserves credit for trying something different within the roguelite genre. Its unusual artistry, trippy soundtrack, and interesting gameplay mechanics come together to make a memorable experience. The game is far from perfect, with no shortage of bugs and quirks that need some ironing out, but it's a good time overall, and players should enjoy trying to collect the many different morsels scattered throughout its world. Having to swap between and learn different character abilities is a feature I really grew to love, and I look forward to seeing what creative endeavors lie next for the clearly talented folks over at Furkula. On our scale ranging from the dreaded indie Krampus for the games you should avoid at all costs to the elusive golden genie lamp of approval for those essential releases, I am awarding Morsels the silver genie lamp of approval.